this meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. of the regular workshop. Now I know what it felt like to run.
Yeah. Shoes on the other foot today.
All right, first up, we got Public Works. What do we got, buddy?
Okay, so we have three things on the consent agenda. The first two are agreements with one with Klickitat School District for us to do work for them, and we also have one for Klickitat County Fire District 13. We're actually going to be busy doing work for different agencies. Nobody can find work, so now they're contacting us. Parks and City of Bingen, City of White Salmon. You just can't find contractors, so. Good.
If we can only use 10% of our own crews on our deal, are the cities the same way? Or, I mean, that's a
It's a little different. I've had history working in a city years ago, but they have different day labor laws, but it's actually grant money that they're using. So they can only hire us or the state to do like the TIB to help administer or actually do the work. Either that or they got to get somebody to administer the grant if they go out to bid. So instead of doing that, they just call us and say, can you guys do this? We're more reasonable than the state. We don't have the giant overhead they do. So that's why we do work for White Salmon, and we'll probably do a bunch of work for Goldendale now. We haven't done a lot in the past, but I did a lot with Pat Munyon when he was over in White Salmon.
How much does that bring in a year? Where do you see that going?
Well, it's what we do is we put money in a reimbursable account because they just pay our fees. Whatever we cost us, we just give them a printout and that's what we bill them for. No, we make no profit at all. They cover all our costs though. So we typically chip seal for them or we crack seal for them. We have done some paving. We paved the parking lot at the hospital. As long as they're a taxing district, we can do work for them. So we do some of that. So that's coming. So we'll see what we got. We just talked to Parks about doing a bunch of work for them, but that's the state, and we'll see what they come up with. We got to give them an estimate and everything else. But a lot of that probably won't take place till 23. So we will put some money in our budget that accounts for that, for the expenditure, but the revenue is match for whatever, because it's reimbursable. Okay, we have one more. It's a walk-on item. It's a contract with Berry and Dunn to replace to help pick out a contractor for our financial system. And I'll let Brenda explain this a little more.
So, okay, yes, no, you're fine. I'll just stand here. I'm not going to be very long. Trust me. So, the steering committee's been working on this, and we came down to Barry Dunn, and then there was contract negotiation, and Gordy has been the one that's spearheaded this for us, even though I'm the chairman of the committee. Thank goodness. And at this point, the original proposal was to have this all completed by December 31st, but because we've been a little longer getting things in place, it's going to go to the end of January for them to make the analysis and then present their findings to us. They're going to be working with all the staff that uses the financial system and see, they'll review everything.
Okay.
Other questions?
Not yet.
Well, yeah, that's for all of us, not yet. I get it.
I think this is the right direction.
Absolutely.
We needed to do it this way.
Yep. Should have been on board doing this quite a long time ago.
In the committee is the committee unanimously on board with trying to streamline and make each not add a bunch of add-ons to fit their,
Right,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, this person is going to come in and make that analysis, which we're pretty sure that's what they'll come up with.
Okay.
This business, not the person, but
Consultant.
yeah, the consultant,
Okay.
yes.
You made me feel better then. Thank you, ma'am.
No, I mean, they're gonna look at what we have and what we could have. They know what is out there and, go from there. And then they'll help us with an RFP to go out and purchase something.
Which might make life easier on the next auditor.
The next everyone, seriously. So, you just don't know what you're gonna come up with, because the financial system we have now is all patchwork together. It's not out of a can and use it, because whenever we have an update, they have to modify it for us.
It's odd because if you move too many pegs on the advocates, they all fall off, so.
Anyway, okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, all right.
On the construction program, we're still working on Courtney Road, of course, the lower section. They're doing a little bit of roadway X, fixing some of the bad curves, hauling in some new rock and maintaining the surface. They're also grading it on Saturdays to maintain that for the local traffic. On the upper portion and the closed area, they will be doing some blasting this week and working on the big embankment and roadway X in various locations. Annual striping, the striping is complete. They're working on thermoplastic this, looks like this Wednesday. They'll be doing crosswalk, traffic arrows, and cross hatching in various locations throughout the county. We have a small works guardrail repair that the contractor's still waiting on materials, so no start date has been set. On the design end, Klickitat path, the small works contract for the concrete work opens this afternoon, so we'll see what we get on that. And then the plan is for our crew to shape and pave it later this year after the concrete work is complete. We received back the approved funding request for 3 of the safety projects, so our design crews can start working on those projects for the next coming years. I think that's it, Jeff.
Okay. A little bit on last week's bid. We're gonna see, like Seth said, we're opening bids on the small works concrete contract. We'll see if we get bids, and then from there, we'll look at what we wanna do. We'll put our heads together. The problem with the parking, if we have to kick some of them off, the biggest problem with the parking lot thing is we can do just about all of it, except for we don't have a curb machine, nor do we have slip forms. That's the 2 ways you would do to put in the concrete curb in the city street. Anything else, and you'll end up with a snake-looking thing. We don't want that because everybody looks at that and goes, who did this? So that's the biggest dilemma with us bringing in the crews to do it, is our crews don't have the ability to pour the curb. So we're hoping that we get some bids for the small works contract this afternoon, because we can be a little more aggressive on small works than we can be on like that contract. We can actually call people and say, hey, look at this. And I think you guys have, but I don't know if we're going to get anything. I know the big guys that typically do it have all said no. They don't have the ability. Either they're busy or they don't have enough workers to take on any more work.
How does that work for, say, our parking lots? Could we not go out to bid for somebody to, let's call it, pour the sidewalks in the road edge, and then we'll do the parking lots?
That's exactly what we're thinking. We want to see what we're going to get, because that's what we did in Klickitat. So we're hoping we get some bids for that. And if we do, then we'll actually talk to whoever the low bidder is and say, hey, what would you think about doing this? Because the typical people that we use or have used in the past, they're not available. They're just not. It's just incredible. You just cannot find people.
Yeah, we've reached out yesterday. We contacted a lot more people in the Portland area, Tri-Cities, Yakima, trying to find someone who'd be available to bid on the project. So we'll see what we turn up, but
They'll all be available in a year.
Yeah,
that's pretty much
probably
what they've all said. If you can do it in the spring, we'll be available, but
I say we missed the the opportunity by a year.
Yeah, there should be a bit, again, it just depends. A lot of it, they just can't get workers. That's what we're hearing. They just don't have enough workers, but. On a good note, though, we're, as far as, because we're using our people, at the SATUS, that the road is about 90% to 95% complete. Our crew should be done after today for the time being, up there. And then they'll come back and they got to do some extra work where we kind of tore up the road, but we're going to do that on the way back out. We gotta, once PUD puts in the line, we've got to bury the line, and all the trenches have been dug. We actually poured the footings for the building yesterday. We're gonna pour the stem walls this Friday, and they're gonna put in the propane lines this week. And so we will, at that time, next week sometime, I'll get our crews back in. They'll fill in so we can pour the floor on the building. They got to put the rock in and backfill everything, and then they'll compact or fix some of the road that we tore up on the way in, and we'll be done as far as the civil work. And that's just a matter of building the building and getting the tower squared away and get that going. So East Side crews are doing that. They're also prepping for BST on Old Mountain this week. Patching Horseshoe Bend and Hochter Road. As of right now, tentative schedule for chip sealing on Old Mountain it's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. It just depends on what goes on. West Side crews are repairing damaged guardrail on Snowden, patching in the town of Klickitat, Canyon and Snowden roads, and removing a large tree today over on Tidyman Road. Upcoming are the facility stuff, the new building. We're still working on punch lists. Blinds are complete. We're still waiting to hear back on the HVAC. There's quite a bit of painting, a lot of odds and ends that they still have to do. HVAC, this has been a really hectic week for us. Started on Friday and we're still haggling through it. I don't know if you've heard, the unit in the jail went down. It was very warm in the jail. We called in the contractor, and the contractor that installed it, that's not, they don't typically do service calls, but we said, look, we've given you guys a lot of money, you need to come out and check. They said it was the breaker panel. Now that we have calmer heads on Monday, that ends up, no, I don't think it is the breaker panel. It appears it is condenser number 4. And the way the units work is, like the one that works here has 10 condensers, 10 fans, and they don't work at the same time, and they rotate. And what was happening, the jail functions the same way. And when the condenser, or when it got to that unit, that part of that unit, it drew too much juice and popped the breaker. So it's working now. We just bypassed the unit. Long term, you don't want to do that, but it will function in that mode because it doesn't need all of the condensers to work. You should have them because you wear the unit out a lot quicker, but they're bringing an actual service rep in tomorrow morning.
And this is under warranty still, right?
I don't know that. We're checking on that right now.
You just replaced this like 6 months ago?
No. This is the unit on the jail. So we replaced it in 2019. So we may be past the warranty. So we'll find out. And then we've had some other things in the jail, some plumbing blockages, and a blockage up at the fairgrounds, sewer blockage up at the fairgrounds. And the refrigerator is down at the jail too. It's like everything kind of hit at once. But we're working through those. We should have hopefully everything back on site or back online before the end of this week, unless we get into a point where we can't get parts. But like for the jail, we brought over our extra refrigerators that we have at the fairgrounds. So we have till the fair to get that up and running. But we'll be bringing somebody in for that. August, our August events, we have a wedding this weekend up at the fairgrounds, a back-to-school bash on the county lawn, and then we're preparing for the fair.
Bible camp get all cleaned up? Did they do a good job?
Bible camp did a good job. It was glad to see them. They're happy to be back. We're happy to have them back. I guess they had a good event, even though it was really warm. And I was told they asked the kids asked, what do we do? It's so hot. What do cowboys do when it's so hot like this?
Cowboy up.
And they told them, well, we start early in the morning at 5. And so they asked if they could start at the morning at 5. And they were, the guy doing it said, well, it's easy to say I want to start at 5 at night. But when it comes 5 in the morning, you may not want to start at 5. But he said he was surprised all the kids were there.
Oh, all right.
So it was a good event. It's a good event for the people and for the kids. And I guess it was very well attended.
Yes, it was.
I heard that grandstands were full.
Yeah, it was, you'd almost think the rodeo was going on. There were so many people there.
I heard that.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
First question may not pertain to you, but you may know the answer. Who would be the people to call to remove a dead deer carcass off the side of the road?
That would be us.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay. Where is it at?
I just hit it, but, Horseshoe Bend,
Okay.
what is that, Mustang? Bottom of that ravine, just past Mustang, I guess,
Okay.
south side of the road. Follow the turkey vultures.
Okay.
And then the other thing I'm bringing to the board, for a potential ask is our Dallasport wastewater facility, needs upgrades, or at least basic must do, not, depending on development, but must do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which, as far as I'm concerned, that qualifies for landfill gas funds as well. So I would like to see, I'm not gonna be here next week,
Okay.
but I would like to see something put together from Public Works for an ask on those small must-do projects,
Okay.
that we can add to our, want list for landfill gas fund when he has that meeting here in 2 weeks.
Okay. I'll bring you a list when you're back. Not next
Well, as I
week.
said, so that we can talk about it on the 16th, and then the
Right.
board can decide whether they want to submit that on the deal.
I'll bring you a list with dates of when we project it, and then you guys can make the decision on, what you want to take. Because some of it, there's a bunch of it that, or not a bunch, but there's a certain amount of projects that are up. Their lifespan is over, 20 years, that's the end of life. But it doesn't necessarily have to be replaced at this time. And I'll give you what are the more important ones, and then you guys can just decide how far you want to go down the list, if that works for you.
Yeah, that works for me. So you're just gonna go off of what you have in here and the notes?
Yeah, I'll go off that, reread that, make sure I'm on the right page.
So I guess I want to make sure we don't have the meeting where we discuss the projects for that until this board has the opportunity to potentially, if it so chooses, to put another project on that.
We've got that meeting scheduled.
It was tentatively, but apparently that's changing. It hasn't. They essentially, there's something about scheduling. So I want to make sure that if this board so chooses, it gets on this list.
And you're only gonna be gone next week.
Yep. And you guys, if you want next week,
So as long as we make that decision on the 16th, we can go forward.
yeah, that only leaves him a week to draft something and present it to them, but as I said, if you guys want to get whatever his list is and make some choices next week, I'm fine. I'm not here.
Process is an application that he would submit.
Right, so if you want to bring it to them next week, they
Okay.
can so choose to do whatever they want to do. And then we can kind of go from there. I just think there's some potential for something on this, so it doesn't come out of general fund dollars.
Okay, I'll do that. I can prepare it for next week. Do you want anything for the August 16th meeting?
The 16th in the morning, it would be nice if you guys, like, if we start at 9:30, I think there's some meeting stuff for you and Dave, but I think 9:30. Right, and I think Dave was the same way, that on the 16th, if we could start at 9:30, which would give you guys a little more time to give us a rundown, update, refresher for the meeting we're gonna have that night.
Okay, and if you need anything, that'll still give us time to prepare it if you want, you know, big foldouts or you want one of us to attend. Doesn't matter either way, it's up to you guys. I just need to know what you guys need.
Yeah, other than I don't think anything, but an update would be good. Or a
Okay.
refresher. That's all I had, sir, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have Economic Development Director and Natural Resources Director, Dave. And staff is online.
Staff coming in?
That's where I'm at.
They're all out front with picket signs.
Richard, are you coming down here? Whitney?
They didn't answer, so I'm gonna assume yes.
All right. I only brought one shadow puppet, so I. Yeah. Is Whitney coming?
Yeah, she's right.
All right, cool, good.
Another mic, you can all grab a chair and hop up there. You wanna do it one at a time?
We'll just go one at a time. We'll just start out with Whitney, seeing as she's already started. All right,
Good morning.
good morning. You want to just roll?
Oh, sure. Okay, so diving in, start off with our Dry and Butler Creek stream flow monitoring project. We haven't given an update in a while because it's been going smoothly, so that's always a good thing. So we've been continuing to monitor stream flow and collect stage data at both of our creek sites on Dry and Butler Creek. We had gotten a grant amendment earlier in the year, so just a refresher on the timeline for this project. We'll be monitoring stream flow through water year 2023. And then we'll have a findings report on the basin yield in late 2023 and early 2024. So this project has been a long one, but it's now running smoothly. So fingers
I'm sure
crossed.
Ecology's happy now.
Yes, hopefully.
Happier.
Yeah, happier. So
No big stream flow events this winter, hopefully.
yeah, hopefully not. Our gauges have held up better in the past year than the initial installation. So good, it's good news. That's all going well. Sticking with water, Ecology just released their 5-year long-term supply and demand forecast for the Columbia River. They do this the Columbia River Basin. They do this every 5 years. We're reviewing it. They just released it, I think, yesterday or the day before. So lots to dive into. I did a quick review. And the big picture is that for our Cascade snowpack basins, we're going to see a shift to earlier stream flow timing. So we're going to have less snow, more rain. So that means that our water supply will come earlier in the year. So that sometimes mismatches for when the demand is highest for that water. So that's the big picture, but I'll do a more thorough review and give some bullet point items in a future update. Anything you want to add on that? You probably haven't had time to
No.
dive into it yet. Moving on to the salmon world. So for our lead entity, we're still reviewing our CRC applications, our Citizens Review Committee applicants, but we should have a resolution before you soon for those appointees. The Recreation and Conservation Office is considering increasing their budget request for the lead entity capacity grant. So that is the grant that we receive on an annual basis to run the lead entity program. We've been at a stagnant amount for quite some time. So they're looking at anywhere from a 45 to 127% increase in the funding available. So based on what we get now, that could be an increase of anywhere from $27,000 to $76,000 for our lead entity program for our time. So
And that's just coming off of, let's call it administrative out of that grant?
the entire grant is for our staff.
for
So
It's a
administrative.
capacity, it's so that we can run the program.
Right, so it's not project specific. Right.
yeah.
So is that gonna be a new ask from us? How does that, where do they get that money from? I mean,
All comes from the state.
Comes from the state. There is no local match requirement for those dollars.
so they're gonna have to ask the state for,
Right, for when the state develops its budget for the coming biennium, Recreation and Conservation Office, through the governor, comes in with a request for funding. So they're planning on put that into their budget request. It goes to the governor's office, the Office of Financial Management. Whether or not it makes the cut for the budget, governor's budget, I don't know, but
Yep.
yeah.
So
That's a pretty hefty increase.
So it wouldn't take, if it goes all the way through and is approved in the budget, that would hit in state fiscal year 2023. So a year out at least.
Or 24.
Or 24, yeah, sorry. In addition, we've had a cost increase request for one of our projects, and that's the Snyder Creek project that flows through the Klickitat mill site. As part of that project, they're looking at groundwater flow, and the old well sites on the Klickitat mill cannot be found, or they've been decommissioned. They've had multiple consultants out there to look. So they're requesting a cost increase so they can drill some wells to monitor the groundwater levels and have that inform their stream restoration design. So as part of that request, they'll be looking to drill potentially up to 2 wells on the Klickitat mill site, specifically on the county portion. So just wanted to float that as a possibility in the future if you guys have any thoughts or feedback on it.
Right, there's one other well they're planning on. It would be on one of the upstream landowners. And right now, the big question is whether or not the project that they're planning will de-water the stream. Basically, how deep is the groundwater? If they take it out of that flume, will that unconfined water just get lost amongst the rocks?
and this is for the,
Stream that goes through the Klickitat mill
right, but
site.
what project are they looking at? What project are we talking about that they're looking at? Is this the Yakima Nation project that's going in over there?
The Regional Fishery Enhancement Group is the primary sponsor. They're working in cooperation with the Yakima Nation Fisheries. I believe they may be coming to the table with some BPA dollars.
I think so, yeah. So
How far away from the stream are they planning to, drill these wells?
hasn't been decided yet. Both Interfluve and Aspect are the sub-consultants on it. But they weren't able to obtain basically any data from the prior wells. They did a public records request through Ecology for the data and only got 1 month's worth of groundwater data. So I don't know. At this point, I think they haven't gotten into that detail, but the consultants have recommended that they drill 3 wells kind of longitudinally through the site.
Did we have any county liability concerns on drilling holes in that site and what they might find if they drill a hole?
You know, right now, we've got a clean bill of health, but if they find contamination, then that's a problem we'll have to deal with. Yeah, I would. It's
So-
not impossible, but I think right now there's a high level of confidence that the site's, is fairly clean, is clean.
So are they thinking that that lower section is different rock or different substrate than, because when the first project went in, when we put, back in early 2000, and we took a section of that and, put it back to more of a natural state, and we walked up through there, I mean, it's not dewatering, the stream through there. It looks really good and it's, ponded and.
If they're looking at, and I haven't talked to the project sponsors exactly, so I'm speculating right now. If they're down on the county's project, they're down where it, there may be a, much more gravel and a bigger alluvial fan, broader fan, so trying to calculate that.
Yeah, it's both wider and the substrate is larger, I think, than they anticipated. So the contractor's opinion was that the groundwater actually is deeper than they thought, based on the initial data they got from that ecology well, and just based on the substrate that they're seeing. I think it's deeper than anticipated. And so they really want to make sure that if they're going to do a project there and take water out of the flume, right now Snyder Creek is perennial, flows year round, and they don't want to dewater that channel. Yeah.
I don't know, I guess I just kind of have a worry that they're gonna find something, see something, tell us we need to do something.
Well, at this juncture, the county's still protected in that we acquired trust of that property through a tax foreclosure. And so it's not, we're not a potentially liable party for that. But, if there's a, if they discover a problem, again, my understanding, again, from the analysis that was done by the Department of Ecology and the consultants that ended up getting it, the no further action is that they're pretty confident that it's clean to a standard that's acceptable for what the property's used for.
I guess that's part of my question. But they're not gonna find where the, water's leaching through the bank or something, and the county needs to put in some kind of rebank, or we're gonna have to do some project to make them happy, depending on what they find, which could still be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't thought about that.
Maybe I'm worried about something I shouldn't be worried about, but I wouldn't be drilling holes on my property, I know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's an update on Switzerland. Dave, do you want to give that?
Right, last month we did a site visit, Department of Ecology, and our consultant, we met with the landowners. There are 2 new landowners that together comprise the vast majority of the reservoir site. We continue to have their okay to go forward with the project and get on site. However, one of the new landowners, Agri Northwest, has a access form that we're working through. It's got some challenges. One, it's you need one every day you go out there, which is cumbersome, and some of the provisions in it. So we're working through that. But that project, I was glad that those new landowners are willing to continue to support moving forward with the project. We continue to have their support. We are in the process of drafting letters to the 4 tribes that we'll be consulting with on that, the Nez Perce, Warm Springs, Umatillas, and Yakima. And we'll be scheduling meetings to get with them. We have not met with anyone really from the tribe since back when we initiated scoping for the SEPA process. That was 2017 or so. So that's where we are there.
All right, and then the last thing on my list is the Gorge Commission's Climate Change Action Plan. We talked about this, I think, in our last update, and they gave a presentation to the board as well. We did draft some comments from a natural resource perspective. I provided those to Lee, and she was going to forward them on to you. Those comments are due August 9th, which is next Tuesday. So let us know if you have anything to add, change, etc.
I've been reviewing it and you guys have done a really good job.
Thank you.
Whitney's author,
Okay,
that draft. Yep.
I'm really impressed.
Yep.
Thanks.
Well written.
And I don't know if you have additional comments and want to just incorporate them in or how you want to handle it, so just let us know.
Okay. Any more questions? Any questions on natural resources issues?
That I can think of.
Okay, while we segue staff here, just a note that I'm working on comments for the draft environmental impact statement for the Goldendale Energy Storage Project. So we're wearing two hats. Whitney's taken a look at that relative to some of the environmental impacts or environmental information in that, and we'll be getting with her input on the comments I'm drafting. The EDA board wants to send a letter of support, so I'll be putting that together as well. Those comments are due on the 9th. Okay.
All right, so
Sorry.
to begin with, the federal EDA grant that we have that's going on right now, we had some issues with the cultural resources, and we end up having to go with another person. So in that regard, he's already done the work. There's 0 findings out there. He's doing the paperwork and he should be filing it this week. Either way, we have a 15-day waiting period once those documents get up to DAHP. And then from there, we should be able to move forward. I've already spoken with the federal EDA and they have come back and said, once that's all good, they want to issue us the award letter no later than late September. And then from there, it's going to be off to the races with that project. For the Port of Klickitat, we recently met with the director out there. And so what the purpose of the meetings that I had with them is we had kind of a couple sessions on just strategy and what they envision moving forward within the Bingen Point area as well as the Dallasport Industrial Park. And we're looking at just kind of ways where we can partner for the benefit of the whole county and how we can move together. So it's pretty much the same thing with Goldendale. I've met consistently with the new city mayor or the city manager, administrator, Pat Munyon, on some different development opportunities within Goldendale and the industrial park here. They did an incubator space in 2012, and it basically came back that it wasn't feasible. And we're going to revisit that. We believe that, due to some interest that's coming into Goldendale, that it might be an opportunity that we can utilize. With the incubator space, some ideas that have come up would be half of the space would be for a lease for a tenant, kind of a bird in hand type of deal with any sort of business recruitment opportunity or somebody local. And then the other half could be utilized as an incubator space. So there's a lot of different things that are out there. Step one would be a feasibility analysis on that to see what kind of interest that we could garner. But that's something that Pat is very open to, as well as the city mayor. And so that's something that we're looking at. What we could utilize that study for would be going for another federal EDA grant loan combination or grant combination for the city. So that's what we're looking at, as well as what we could utilize as far as business recruitment opportunities out there in the industrial park, and seeing what might be able to fit down there within that acreage for business. And then we have the Klickitat Mill site. I've met with a couple of the members of the community council down there, as well as the adjacent landowner. They're eager that we're still moving forward on it. And from my understanding, for the natural resources portion, they had pushed back the design phase. They're likely to push back the design phase. So we're still moving in conjunction with all parties and stuff like that. So moving forward into the business retention and expansion, Commerce got a new program called Scale Up to help businesses expand. Basically, it's a training session. We sent that out through both of our chambers, and that's going to be pushed out through our department as well. I've already got 2 companies that are plugged into it for that. One on the west end of the county, one here on the east side. And basically, it helps build the company's networks, and it helps them kind of figure out how to basically just scale up, whether it's workforce, their facilities, kind of all encompassing. So. And then that cohort is going to begin August 24th. And that's a 9-week training session. Working Washington 5, the Department of Commerce is coming out with that. That's $70 million. 60% of that is dedicated to nonprofits and businesses in the arts, heritage, and science sectors, and then 40% will be going to small businesses and nonprofits in most other sectors. We've also pushed that through our chambers, and we've already got, well, since I sent that out, we sent that out to our business list of 283 businesses, and I got some word back that one business down in Lisle has gone out of business since our last Working Washington efforts. And then we've gotten some requests from 2 other businesses to help them out personally on trying to figure out how to work that from the, getting their UBIs and putting everything together online. So help make them more competitive. For workforce development, we have recently, and I've mentioned this previously, we're wrapping up the 10 new hires and the 15 employees trained, so 25 employees altogether for our aerospace company down there on the west end. And that was through the Job Skills Program with Clark College. And then that's going to lead into some workforce development trends that we've seen. So with the Workforce Development Council, the South Central Workforce Development Council, Washington State is one of the only states that does not fund our workforce development projects or our workforce development efforts, our council. And so the South Central Workforce Development Council has received a 40% reduction in their federal WIOA funding. So that's the Washington Innovation Opportunity Act that was passed in 2014 under Obama. And so basically there's, all the councils here in the state, they're going to be seeking some funding through the state. And so they're going to be requesting $50 million per year over the next biennium to increase employer engagement, industry sector partnerships, apprenticeships, and pre-apprenticeships. And so if that's approved, we're going to be looking at trying to implement some of the apprenticeship programs again here in the county, trying to see what that might look like. And then so
If I
for,
could jump in,
Yeah.
just real quickly, the workforce training's been something that's been very valuable for our employers over the last several years, particularly with some of the programs that Richard has put together. This lack of funding is an issue. As Richard indicated, we're going to try to go to the legislature this coming session to get some funding for that program. Washington Economic Development Association, which we're a member of, is looking at championing that budget ask. So as we get closer, I'll be talking to you about that and lobbying in support of that funding.
in the past 5 years, to put some numbers on the workforce development training that we've been able to utilize with the South Central Workforce Development Council with all the different programs that are out there. Some rough numbers is we're just shy of 500 employees that we've been able to assist either with new hires or getting them retrained. So that's, I guess, not insignificant over the past 5 years. So, and so the Workforce Development Council does some really great work. For business startups, childcare in the past couple weeks, we've got a couple additional people looking at starting up a childcare operation. One resides out of Glenwood, and she works here locally in Goldendale. And so we're looking at assisting her, as well as one down in Dallasport. For business recruitment, I'm currently working on a workforce development project. And moving forward, I think it might, I think our workforce development pitch for business recruitment might be part of the story that we tell. And then it should be noted that we were looking at putting in a couple of local sites here locally. And so some of the obstacles that we incurred with that has got us thinking about getting some of our sites certified shovel ready. So Washington State just recently passed a shovel ready certificate. And most other states like Dallas or like Texas and North Carolina, they utilize it for business recruitment opportunities for marketing. And basically what that shows all the companies out there is that everything on that site is verified. So all the utilities, the water, the wastewater, the power and everything. Currently in Washington State, when it comes to businesses looking to expand, there isn't a single site or a single certificate that we look at as far as what those sites can offer, if that makes sense. So even with our, just within the state, you look at different districts, and you really have to dig down deep on what specifically those sites have as far as capabilities. So even though you might have 2 10-acre lots, not everything's created equal, and trying to do due diligence on that can be pretty difficult. So this would help us streamline a lot of our efforts in that regard. So that's something that we're gonna be looking at.
And it's a marketing tool in essence, right?
Right.
I mean,
marketing
that's
tool.
really what it is. It's so that anybody walks in and you say it's shovel ready and it means
Yeah.
shovel ready,
Right,
not.
you've
Yeah.
gone in and done a level 1 environmental assessment, so there's some
Yeah.
things that they're not gonna have an issue there. They can get their financing to do the project. You've taken a look at cultural resources and made sure there's no fatal flaws, or there's not gonna be an issue there. Is the site ready to roll?
Have we talked to the ports about this?
Yes.
And they're 100% on board?
Yes, so that was part of the discussion that I had with the port, was basically how can we partner up to help, to basically help things move along, and how can we help, you know, basically as a good partner. And so they've got some issues, and so it's gonna be like everything when it comes to development, there's gonna be a lot of, you know, I mean, it's gonna be a trudge, so to speak, because you're basically taking, when you get things certified, it is a marketing tool, but you're taking a lot of the due diligence part that a private sector person would do, or a private sector company would do, and you're putting it on our end to make sure that that site is in fact ready to go. And so the sites that we're looking at is gonna be our industrial sites here in Goldendale and down there at the port. So they're you know, taxing jurisdiction sites that we're utilizing, so.
Okay.
And then community development project funds. We've connected with the Cemetery District Number 1 out of Snowden. They're going to be meeting on August 10th. They're likely to accept the suggestion by KC BoCC for the 2-to-1 suggestion for the funding. So they're going to put up $5,000 of their own funding to request $10,000 out of our community development project funds. So, and they were able to increase their donations from $530 to $880. So for their fundraising for that project.
Like they brought an extra 300 in, so they'll have to come up with like 4,200 from their reserves.
Yeah, 4,200 from the reserves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then outside of that, we've continued to remain engaged with the Klickitat County Child Care Committee. REDS, or MCED Economic Resiliency Team meetings that we're still doing, that were in relation to the pandemic, as well as MCED's housing efforts, the Washington Economic Development Administration, USDA, as well as CURB. So I reached out to a couple of their new employees as well for CURB. And then for potential future grant opportunities, it was brought up with the city of Goldendale over this last month, a placemaking grant with the USDA. That's actually an innovation challenge. We're looking at potentially trying to apply for that for next year. Basically, that's a planning grant, a type of feasibility study that the city's kind of looking into in regards to housing. So, and then did you want to go over the last portion, or?
No, you can jump in.
Okay, yeah, and so some basic economic data for the county. The current state's economic, or for the current state, the unemployment data is 3.9%, and for the county, it's 5.2% for unemployment. And so we're basically at the same levels as we were in 2019. So we're back at the same levels. Historically speaking, 3.9% for the state is about as red hot as you can get. Same thing for us with the county, 5.2%. I think that's outside of 2019, that's as low as the county's gotten since the.
Actually, it's lower than 2019. We were 5.6 in 2019.
But I would say over a 30-year time period, that's about as low as we're going to get.
The labor force is about 1,000 lighter than it was in 2019 now.
Really? 1,000 later.
And that's it.
Where'd they all go?
Well,
Yeah.
that's why it's hard to get employees.
Right, like, where did all these people go? I mean, is it really retirement, the baby boomer?
And the only other thing, just to let you know, I've got a public records request from Mr. Wagner that I'm going to be responding to, so.
All right. Any questions?
No, have fun.
All right,
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, good gentlemen, and thank you, Whitney. All right, next up, our code compliance officer. Where's monthly update?
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, and I just got your email.
Oh, there we go. Prepared.
Yeah, please, yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's
I
his
bring
first
up-
update, it might make him a little less nervous.
Alrighty, well, jumping right into it, this will be my first update for the commissioners since our former code compliance officer resigned. I want to thank the commissioners for the opportunity. I look forward to working for the people of Klickitat County. My official start date was the 6/13 of 22. Since then, I focused on understanding my caseload. For the first couple of weeks, I revised my caseload to understand the nature of complaints and devised an approach for every case. In doing so, I was able to close approximately 10 cases. Most of these cases were closed due to administrative errors. Some cases were complete but never closed out. Some reached statute of limitations, other lacked essential paperwork to initiate a complaint. As of this date, I have 26 open cases. I've attached a list displaying all my active cases. 14 of those are code compliance violations and 11 are nuisance complaints. 2 of those cases are led by the health department due to on-site sewage. Avery from the health department was able to aid me in 2 site visits, and 1 resulted in a case being closed due to the parcel owner's compliance. Slow progress has been made on the following cases. North Lake, the property owner removed 8 cars since we started speaking.
How many are left?
I was gonna ask the same question.
Quite a bit, quite a bit, yeah.
Ballpark number off the top of your head?
20. Yeah,
But he's working on it.
yeah, he's working on
Progress
it.
is good.
So since I started, he's removed 8 cars, and he works out of the state, so he comes and works on the property every so often. So in a month, I'll do another update on the property, and the property owner agreed to remove 2 RVs by the time I do my next visit. I think he's planning on setting up a privacy fence. And North Lake is one of those, the property owner feels like he's being singled out, and I kind of see where he's coming from, because all the neighboring properties are essentially the same, and it seems a little unfair that, but I explained to him we're a complaint-driven department, and he has the right to complain about his neighbors too, and it sounds like he doesn't want to do that, but
We've heard that before, and I feel for the guy. But, in the same regard, we have code and we have, the process, so.
also, in regards to this case, I did change it from a code violation to a nuisance complaint, because Lem had opened it based on the fact that he had an LLC and he was using that to either scrap cars or bring cars into his property. Since then, he closed out his business. So I decided to kind of approach it differently, so.
So is he still scrapping cars there?
No, Well,
Slowly moving them out.
as a business, no, he's not. He's slowly. He had a business in which he focused on like older Fords, and so a lot of the cars that were on the property were just F-150s and along those lines. And he was essentially, from my understanding, taking parts off and then selling them on the internet. Since then, he's not doing that anymore.
So cars or RVs are leaving and new ones aren't showing up.
No, from my understanding, no.
Okay, as long as we're making progress in the right direction.
Yep.
Slow. That
It'll be slow for a lot of people. They can
Yeah,
only do what they can do. But
essentially-
as long as there's
As long as nothing new's
consistent
coming in.
process or progress.
essentially that's what I relayed to him. Is it's especially when you have this big of a problem, right? I think it's unrealistic to ask them to just clean it up within a week or a month.
Show us progress and we'll be okay.
Station Way, they're working on erecting a privacy fence. When I started, I drove.
Station Way.
It's off Woodland and Indian.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah. I know where it is now.
So when I started, I didn't document the current status of the property because I was still kind of unsure of what I could and couldn't do. So I went and visited the property, and I believe they were working on the fence, and then I went and did an update on the property not too long ago, and they had made pretty good progress. They're just putting up a chain link fence, and then they're adding like a privacy barrier. Slate Street, other than commonly known as the Lyle Market. I spoke with the complainant and the market owner, and we essentially agreed on a compromise from both ends. It depends on who you ask in Lyle. Some people really like the lights. Some people absolutely hate them. Essentially, all I'm pursuing from talking with the complainant and the market owner is the 4 LED lights that are shining onto the apartment complex across the street, which is, I mean, it's pretty harsh. And it sounds like from the complainant that would be good enough for her or them to, close the case.
So this is the store that keeps getting broken into in Lyle?
Lyle Merck.
It's the Lyle Merc.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Lyle Merc, keeps getting broken into and they steal, and so.
I spoke with the market owner, and that was part of her complaints. And I reiterated to her that essentially I wasn't asking for her to just completely shut the lights off. If we could, what we essentially came up with a resolution was if she could install shrouds on the lights so that it could redirect the light so it's more on the street and not, right now it's a flood light or a flood style light. So it just, it pollutes light.
Still get lighting and.
Hey, if you found a resolution and both sides are able, I think you did success. Good job.
Yeah.
So, she had a last time I spoke with her, she had a contractor on the way. Jennings Road, Jennings Road, she reinstated her conditional use permit. She had withdrawn it sometime with the beginning of this year. Honestly, I think it was just because of COVID. A lot of things were put on standstill. I reached out to the property owner and just remind her that we have a case open and she needs a submit a CUP, and she responded pretty quickly. So I think it'll go well once the ball starts rolling.
And you're saying an application, not there isn't a conditional use permit, or an application for one, right?
Yes, it's an application for one, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear what you were saying.
The following cases, I am asking the board for direction. So 6th Ave in Dallasport, this case was opened in 2014. Since the opening of the case, little to no progress has been made on the property. Abatement was started in 2019, but failed as BoCC directed not to pursue due to escalating costs associated with the cleanup. This case has remained stagnant since. My request would be to close the case due to statute of limitations and failed abatement.
Have you been getting more complaints? Is it getting
No.
worse?
It's essentially, it's exactly the same from when,
Changed at all.
Where's it at on 6th Street?
it's in Dallasport.
Right, I'm looking at the
I'm trying to
map.
figure out the cross street of Sixth. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, kind of across from like a big pasture and orchard area.
you found it?
No, I'm asking you. It's on 6th Ave, right? Or is it 6th Street?
Dave's, I'm sure, familiar with it.
So have we abated this property before?
I believe from reading from the notes, abatement was started and then the cost,
So we went out
Wasn't
for
worth it.
bid and the cost came back
I don't
really
think that
high.
one was previously abated.
Okay,
I don't think it was previously abated either. I think they were thinking about doing it.
It's several blocks from the ones that have been.
Yeah, and it was just a humongous number and they decided they weren't gonna go that route. For me, I guess we're working on ways to reduce the price of abatement. Granted, we've been working on that for a year and a half, but we're actually somewhat closer than we were before. So I hesitate removing it because there's actually potential that next year it may be a county project to clean up as opposed to sending out for bid for 60 grand. I've also worked with some of those abatement companies, and I think if we went out to bid today, the number would be much better than the number we've gotten before. So, I mean, it's a problem. I hate removing it just because the county doesn't have the funds to abate it at this given time.
have you contacted the individual?
no.
I think this is a long and repeated. It'd probably be a good one to have Dave give you a full-on update, because, I mean, I remember it back when I was sitting in the audience, the discussions about it.
So what I worry about is if, if it's a repeated, if we do abate it, they could go and fill it back up in the course of a year, which isn't gonna,
True.
you've already taken the value out of that parcel and you didn't fix the problem.
My concerns are, it's been open, the case was open in 2014, and there hasn't been any progress made since 2019. So I worry about statute of limitations. I reached out to the PA to kind of voice my concerns, and they still haven't replied, but
Okay, let's wait for a
Do we-
reply from the PA
Do
on
we
that.
have a fining instrument that we can level fines against somebody who doesn't want to clean up their stuff? And if so, do you know of a history of us ever trying that with this split?
I usually don't, I haven't been keeping track of fines, and I don't believe
No, we don't have, remember, we talked about updating the codes to put some teeth in it. Lynn's brought forward stuff multiple times. We've had conversations with the prosecuting attorney about it. But our current code, not so much on.
And
we
then
don't have a-
after we moved it to an independent position, if the board wants to work with,
About creating new programs.
Yeah.
Right, because
And maybe-
that was our directive to Lim, was to work on updating these codes about where we can make it so that you can be more successful. And then, Lim took off, and so we've just been sitting here in this role, kind of like everything else.
Spinning our wheels.
So George will inherit that, but get up to speed first.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Don't scare him away.
I'm planning on it.
What I would like to see is I would like for the case to be closed, and then I'm sure a complaint would come back up.
I mean, if we haven't had a complaint on it in a while,
And it would, yeah, I'm pretty sure, well, I would have to notify the complainant that the case was closed, which I'm pretty sure would,
Yeah, I guess I worry about
but it was nuisance, right? So it took 2 complaints, right? Yeah, it's a nuisance complaint, so there were at least 2.
I'd do it.
yes.
I just kind of worry about what signal we would be sending to the community if we close a case that they're driving by every day and never seen progress, and then we just close it.
Well, I mean, what'll happen is if you let them know and you're like, well, we didn't make progress, COVID hit, we went 2019, we went out for bids came in ridiculously high, so we chose not to move on. Went to the back burner, COVID hit, everything shuts down. We didn't do code, for a while.
We're working on getting teeth in our ordinance.
We're working on getting teeth in our ordinance, but at the same time, those 2 people could resubmit a nuisance complaint and start a brand new one, which may be the easiest thing to do.
That's the way that I would like it, for it to go. Close the case, have them resubmit a complaint if they so wish. And then I could essentially start the case fresh and not worry about
Right, statute of
statute
limitations.
of limitations being used to just essentially just throw the case out.
And so wait for the response from the prosecuting attorney's office, and then so long as they say it's okay, absolutely, you can go that way. At least that's my opinion.
I would agree.
And make sure you let the complainants know,
Yes.
and that it's not from fault of trying on our part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Elton Drive is my newest case. It's a tiny home measuring 10 feet wide by 37 feet in length. Its size puts in a gray area where LNI and the building department conflict on the definition, on its definition. From my understanding, its use impacts on how it's regulated. So the property owners state that they will not be living in the house and will not exceed the county's 30-day consecutive or 60-day calendar year, which would make it a permanent placement. The county does not use the definition of tiny homes, but suggests RV or park models. The WAC 269-150R classifies an RV as no wider than 8 feet 6 inches wide in travel mode, and its size cannot exceed 400 square feet. It does not easily fit into any category. It closely matches a single wide, but it cannot be issued a placement permit without an HUD insignia. A park model could also be used as a definition, but it does not have a license plate to meet the WAC 296-150P-0330. My recommendation is to schedule a workshop to discuss this issue further.
Is it literally on wheels like a tiny house, or is it site built, or?
It's on wheels.
interesting.
It's on wheels. It's.
You didn't bring a picture?
No, I didn't.
You don't have one on your phone?
I
want to
do.
see this.
I think you can go get it if you
Yeah, I
want.
can, okay, yeah, I'll go grab it.
Really? You're gonna make him walk all the way to the phone?
I wasn't gonna make him walk all the way upstairs.
Okay.
It's, yeah, he and I have sat for several days going back and forth, and it being 10 feet wide doesn't really classify as an RV. It doesn't have a license plate, doesn't have stickers. They had to get a moving permit to put it there, so it doesn't just easily travel down the road.
Oh, they had to get over.
Well, you gotta get a
over
wide load if it's 10 feet
Mhm.
wide, yeah.
They did. And so by my rules that I look at through LNI, since it was built elsewhere and brought in, that would mean LNI needs to approve it somehow as a single wide park model, what have you. but they're gonna have to go to L&I to say.
They're never gonna get one through L&I
They are
because it ain't got a
not.
HUD sticker,
Mm-mm.
so this is
And so
a,
then if L&I can't do that, okay, then it's not an RV and it's not anything L&I can classify. I can't really classify it as anything other than stick built at that point, but then it's gonna have to have a permanent foundation, engineering, all of that. They've got this thing in a classification that's not easily matched to anything.
Is it on, I'm looking at Elton Drive, is it on property that already has a house on it? Or is it-
Yes.
So it already has a
Mhm.
house?
So if they wanted to have another dwelling, they'd have to go through the ADU process with planning unless, yeah, I mean, our problem is we have trouble classifying that as truly an RV.
well, to me, an RV is something built at an RV dealership. It even comes with a VIN plate.
Yes,
And a mobile home is something built at a modular home factory that comes with L&I stickers.
exactly. And like
Everything
TLC
else
Modular,
is-
they work with L&I. Any
Right.
of the manufactured home people, they work with L&I.
This is stick built, it just happens to be on wheels, and our code is weird that it, I don't know, I think this is again, to me, something that is we can classify it as an RV and it isn't. We can classify it as a park model or a manufactured home and it isn't.
Mhm.
So where,
It's,
where it's sitting,
It's in a bad spot.
it won't meet your, I mean, what do we have for, is it on county right-of-way property? Trying to figure out where,
It's a rural residential, which requires a 20-foot setback from the front of the property and 5 feet on the sides.
right, and this is at the corner, so which one's the front?
So Northwest Kennedy will be the
Yeah,
front.
you wanna come over here and take a look at this? Oh, shoot, I did that. I closed it.
So the front of the mobile home will be, so where my car is right now, it's at Northwest Kennedy, and then Elton is.
So it's on this one or this one? So there's a
It's not in
house and a
city
building.
limits.
No, it's in county. Right, and so if I'm looking, if these numbers are, like, if you look at this, where this is at, if, I know our lines aren't always, and we don't have a whole lot of right of way there. Well, maybe we do. Is that
Either
40?
way, I can't imagine it fits a setback from road.
That's what I was saying, because this is showing that it's a 60-foot, right of way. And the house faces Elton. And the house garage is 20 feet off. I wonder if this house is 20 feet off. Because it's 20-foot setback, right?
Yes.
On the front and rear, right?
Yeah,
Front and rear, yeah.
right. And so this thing, which is on this parcel that has a front facing for the house, so that's the front of the parcel, would need to be at least 20 feet off. And there's a good chance it's actually in the right of way.
Yeah, but technically, if the person was parking their RV or their boat, it would not be.
That is true. If they could park it, essentially, if they're not living in it, they can park it essentially wherever. I mean,
So-
They're not bound to the 20 foot unless we're calling it a site built. And this is again where I think it comes into our code and our ordinances not covering things that are considered tiny homes. I think this board will eventually address those issues. It just may not be until January 1st.
And I'm not doing anything really on my end until I see what the 21 code cycle looks like. because I keep hearing that the state's going to address them in some fashion.
Tiny homes?
The only thing they've done so far is if it's on wheels, it's,
Yeah, they've designated.
they
one
haven't
as a
done much
tiny
else
home,
with it yet.
And
They've
we've
legalized them, but they haven't done anything.
tried to
code-wise.
work on this.
Yeah, so.
But I mean, this thing likely still won't fit into that because it's 10 foot wide.
Exactly. So when George came to me, I was like, I can't easily say, oh, yep, that's an RV, or that's this, or that's that. If it's an RV, to legally be an RV, they're gonna have to have a plate and a tag on it, which it doesn't have. So I mean, it's like this really weird,
So what's their plan? Did you, I mean, you talked to the people, what do they have, what's it, there's $100,000.
yeah.
If it was me, I'd open my own business as a RV builder. And I would file for a tag, and I only ever made one of them, and I would stamp that sucker right on the side of it, and it'd be an RV if it was mine, but.
But an
But
RV
that's
can't be
gonna
10
be
foot
where
wide.
they're gonna have to work with L&I, cause I mean,
Right.
yeah.
They're planning on using it as a guest home essentially.
It's an Airbnb or something.
No. They are planning on having the property owner's wife, his mom is gonna be
Oh, mother-in-law. sweet
mother-in-law, yeah.
occasionally.
No, it's probably where her retirement,
Oh,
Which-
that's
Another-
more than, yeah.
which goes back to the whole 60-day thing.
Right. She says it's every other weekend and it won't exceed 60 days in a year.
Another way we could probably approach is an ADU. Forgot what's the full, not the
Oh.
acronyms.
Oh,
ADU.
accessory dwelling.
Accessory
Yeah.
dwelling unit,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
But then it's gonna have to go through everything like any other ADU
Mm-hmm.
and see if it gets approved or not.
Yeah.
Because planning will have to say it's okay, it'll have to be within 200 feet of the main home.
Because even if it did get approved, the placement of it on the zoning, it's just, that's the only way that I could see that we could approve it is if there's gonna be another dwelling on the parcel, which doesn't allow it due to its zoning.
well, that's what the ADU's for. I mean, in
Yeah,
essence,
well, yeah, that's.
So this is what we've been talking about for years, is that this is affordable living in the county
Yes.
for people. This is, I mean, this is where grandma's gonna go,
Mhm.
and we used to have the hardship permits, and now we have ADUs. And this thing's 10 foot wide, it's 370 square foot, it's half of the maximum size of an ADU. It's easily, that thing looks like it's $100,000 in today's current prices. They definitely need to move it more than 5 feet from the road. And they got room, they could stick it over next to the house, potentially. And make it blend in and call it an ADU and go through that process. It's not gonna fit into anything else because it's 10 foot wide.
And that's where I said, yeah, you'll just have to see the direction you guys want him to go, because I can't categorize it under anything L&I gives us.
Anything, it's gonna have to be an ADU, which that is.
And we're gonna have to clean up our stuff to.
Well, I mean, it could still fit as an ADU. I mean, you just,
Right,
You're
fits
gonna-
under that, but it does not fit under anything
But under an
L&I.
ADU, would it still have to be on be on concrete and be?
They
engineered?
will have to have an engineer say how to fasten it to a foundation.
Right.
It'll have to have a permanent foundation.
That's my thinking, is they're gonna have to at least,
it's the same thing.
I
as our
mean, it
mobile
could be
home.
on blocks, just like a mobile home.
Yeah.
They just have to put the big auger things in the
Right,
ground and
right.
strap it to that. And then it could qualify for ADU.
Yeah, they just have to have an engineer
Yeah, it might cost them
approve it
another-
structurally and say how to fasten it down, because it's already done.
I mean, but that's what we do with all mobile homes, that come in, manufactured homes, sorry.
Right.
That was the wrong term.
Or any other
park model
structures,
or anything, yeah.
Yep.
even a structure that's built on site without a permit, they would have to get engineering too, so it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, send them through the ADU process, tell them they can't be 5 feet from the road.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, of course, your neighbors are gonna, be upset about that.
That would be my thinking too. Get it away from the edge of the road, put it in a little better place. go through the ADU process, and if they want to, you know, put it on blocks and put the augers in to strap it down, then go through that process.
And tell them they want to do it now because prices are going up January 1st.
Well, I'll let George tell him.
Yeah, the bearer of bad news.
Well, it's not totally
Yeah.
bad news.
Well, yeah, it
you know
is,
that
yeah.
it's told them to get it out of the
They
county.
may think so, but
Yeah,
yeah.
as it sits right now, it has electricity and water. So, well, and sewage, I guess. There's a sewage pit.
There's a sewage pit? You mean the
or a
septic system?
Septic, yeah. It's a
Gotta get him on the right terminology.
Yeah.
He'll get there.
eventually.
And my RV spot does the same. I took the septic line and put a spot where you can just put the hose right on it.
Yeah. But it goes into your septic system.
Right, not a pit.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be another problem is, because that's not all, that's all septic out there, right? That's not city wastewater?
Not sure.
Mm,
Health would know that better.
Because
But
I
I
was-
mean,
That
if,
would be through the ADU process. you figure
exactly,
that out.
yeah.
Right,
So if
where it's
George
gonna
says,
go.
hey, the only way you can keep it is to go through the ADU process, they're gonna do the ADU packet with
Right,
planning, they're gonna
right.
submit to us for a permit, we're gonna route to health and public works.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the right thing to do. I mean, I think we can probably make something work there. It's definitely not 5 feet from the road or potentially on the road easement.
I did relay that to the property owners, but again, I was.
And if they're upset that they have to move it, well, then they should have come and talked to us first before they went and spent $100,000 on a every other weekend mother-in-law suite.
Yeah, which I relayed that, you know, the setbacks in there, they assured me that as where it sits, it's meeting the setbacks, which that's not for me to decide, you know, that'll be done through the permitting of whatever route they go. But I did warn them, that does appear like the setbacks aren't met, but
As I say, if it does get a permit for an ADU, it probably won't be in that location.
Yeah.
Cause then it's gonna get that 20-foot rule. Yeah, where it's at now, it's just ain't gonna work, but.
it's also not just the setbacks, but as you're approaching the stop sign, I mean, there's the,
Which is why we have 20-foot setbacks, is so people can see the stop sign and they can see what's coming around the corner,
yeah.
which is the purpose for those things. So yeah, that's how I would go with it. Hopefully, eventually, we will clean up our code and figure out as a board and as a county where we're going on tiny houses, but the only way I can see them going is ADU. So might as well just get that started right now.
Yep. While I'm here, do you guys have any questions about any of the properties listed?
What is the Finn Ridge? RV no placement, no permit? I mean, what is that about? Is it just an RV on the property not being used, or are they trying to live in it full-time, or, do you know?
I don't
Or is
think I've
that
made,
the one I brought up, the single wide on Finn Ridge that hadn't got a permit?
It might be,
I bet you it is.
yeah, I don't know how Lem put it in there, so
I bet you it's that one
and
with
I
no
don't think-
placement permit
I
on
don't
the
think
single
he's
wide.
had a chance to get out that
Okay.
direction.
yeah, no,
yet.
I think I sent him not an initial letter, but essentially like a reminder, like in case it's still open, you need to reach out to me and make some progress.
It must not be, because it was submitted in 2018, and that thing didn't show up until last year, so it must be something different.
Must be a different one then.
There's some properties that are essentially on a standstill. Either I can't get a hold of the property owners or they're flat out ignoring me. A lot of the properties too are on private roads, which
You
makes it,
can't get in.
yes, makes things quite challenging.
I mean, this is just so much better than it was when we were a year ago.
I
Like
say, we
going
got, we
through
got
the
issues
list.
that we need to figure out that would help. Some of that's tiny homes, some of that's abatement. Some of that is helping homeowners potentially with abatement without going through abatement.
Mhm.
Until then, just keep doing what you're doing as we're slowly getting what we need done to help you.
Pine Mountain, Elton Drive.
But from my side, I see the shift as having been very, very successful compared to trying to lump it in with building like it had been so long. These gentlemen have more knowledge on the other side of things, the legal side of things, that there was no way I was gonna be able to ever do.
Right.
And so I think them doing it has been tremendously successful.
How many phone calls are you getting a week now?
Probably every day I have about 2 or 3.
I did ask the prosecutor when he was here a week or two ago if he's ever sat down and talked to you or met you or whatever, and he said that he didn't think he had. So you got his number. Feel free to call him and say, hey, can we set up a half hour sometime and go chat and introduce yourself and try to build a rapport there, because you're gonna need him on things. So I would advise you to go that route.
I've been sending in quite a bit of opinion requests. I did call him last week. Just have brief conversations about just questions that I have. But yeah, I think a sit down would be good.
Yeah, he's short-staffed and will be all summer, so
Right.
opinion requests might take time.
Yeah, they're taking a while, which is fine. As you can see, I have plenty to keep me busy.
Yep.
Other than that, how are you settling into the role? Is there any direction from us other than what you asked for today that we can give? Have you had any conversations with Lim, and any questions that he needed to answer for you up until now, or?
Up until about the first week, Lem was available, and then ever since then, I've just kind of been on my own.
Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, it's
The other thing
learning
is
curve.
you're gonna have resources that I'm sure it's already been pointed out. But there's gonna be code compliance officers in other counties, your constituents, your partners, your whatever your word is.
Constituents is not the right
It's
word.
not the constituent word. Anyway, whatever, your
Peers.
peers, there you go, thanks, sir. In other counties, feel free to reach out to them, bounce things off of them. Build a rapport with them because you're gonna be using their ear and later they're gonna be using your ear. So, you always got that tool as well. If you see anything out there in the way of training, that could help you move forward, bring it forward, let us chew on it. Other than that, just keep plugging away and you'll learn it all eventually.
Everyone's been really helpful, and that's. I mean, I've been bugging everyone. I think everyone can. I go in and, hey, can you help me with this or point me in the right direction? And everybody's been a team player. Avery, I took her out like on a 1.5-mile hike to get to one of the properties because we essentially could either go up Addison Road and ask 24 parcel owners for their permission to go up a road, or I could ask one parcel owner that owns like 140 acres and then just cut across. We were cutting through creeks and she was all.
She was a sport, huh?
Yeah, she was so. And that pretty much summarizes everyone's attitude. They're willing to go above and beyond, so.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah,
Good.
it's been good.
Okay, so we're not gonna schedule a workshop. Gonna give them the information and, I mean, hopefully you can just drop by the packet or whatever for them and be like, hey, this is the direction we're gonna go if you want to be legal.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll have to go a different direction.
How does that work on a ADU? Let's say somebody's trying to do an ADU right now on this type of scenario, and under our existing stuff, it may not qualify because it's tiny home. I would
As long as you bolt it down, then it's a stick-built structure. I mean, that is a stick-built structure. You look at it.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
problem is engineering doesn't have blueprints. Do you know
They-
snow load?
they'll have, I mean, that will be part of the engineering they will have to get for the building permit. Is to say the structure meets the snow load, they did it correctly. They're gonna have to get L&I to sign off on the electrical. And then the engineer's gonna have to say, this is how you're gonna fasten it to the ground. I mean, they've got a little work to do because they're trying to get it okayed after the fact.
But that can be done. It's been done
We've
a
seen
lot
it
of
done,
time.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a little more expensive.
Yeah.
But you bought $100,000 trailer, so.
Guess so.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
All right.
Alrighty,
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
All right. Mr. Vice, I would entertain a motion, unless you have something for the good of the order. Is Dave going to be in this afternoon?
No vacation.
Oh, he is on vacation.
Made me say the word.
Are we still on the record?
We're always
Yep.
on the record, sir.
The photos shown were from the investigation. I brought it purposely from the investigation, so anyone does what you guys saw was essentially from the case.
Yep.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, no, I try not to use the word vacation just so.
But fear of it?
Nobody breaks into your house. knowing you're not there.
Oh,
So I always use the term away.
got it. I just didn't, oh, it
Feel free to
is,
do that for me next week.
because you already said it. I would entertain a motion.
Hang on, let me look and make sure I have nothing. I have nothing. Sir, I would move that we recess for lunch, be back at 1 o'clock.
I will step down and second the motion. There's been a motion and a second to recess for lunch. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you all. We'll see everybody shortly. Good afternoon. We are going to begin the regular business meeting of Klickitat County Commissioners. Our first call is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show, 2 commissioners are present, and Commissioner Sauter is away.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the business agenda with 2 add-ons under new business resolution in the matter of authorizing the submission of a joint $100 million US DOT Bridge Investment Program grant for the replacement of the Hood River Bridge and an agreement with Barry Dunn McNeil and Parker LLC DBA Barry Dunn for client project management services to serve as a facilitator to assist the county in preparing an RFP to replace the county's current financial management software. And a third add-on under miscellaneous reports, request for verbal approval for the personnel authorization to begin advertising process to fill a vacant accounting administrative assistant position with Emergency Management Department.
I will step down and second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
You good with minutes?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the commissioner meeting minutes for July 26, 2022 as presented.
I will step down and second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We will now move into citizen comments. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. When everyone is done saying their piece, the Board of County Commissioners will respond if they so deem, or each member. We will begin in the room as always. And we've got nothing in the room. Online, if you would like to provide public comment, *6 to unmute your phone, raise your hand, turn your microphone or video on, and get our attention. We'd love to hear from you. Wow.
It won't last.
Okay, well, if somebody decides they would like to provide public comment or to lead us off, get our attention. Until then, we have things. Oh, we have Elaine Harvey.
Good afternoon, Elaine Harvey, Goldendale. Yeah, I just like to, I'm not gonna ask for a response from Commissioner Dan, but anyways, this is towards Jacob. It seems like a common theme in Klickitat County with the ongoing parcelization of lands in the county. And you know, when you guys are approving all these parcelizations, it opens the door for more wells to be drilled in the county. And it's a common theme now in eastern Klickitat County, where a lot of these wells are drying out. And, you know, you guys are opening the door or allowing, these people just come here, buy land, parcelize it, 100 acres down to 20, 10, 5. And then you have all these wells that are getting drilled all over, and the well companies can't even keep up with it. They got a year, you gotta wait for a year to get a well drilled because there's so many wells getting drilled. And the water resource in Klickitat County is not unlimited. And I work in fisheries and I work with landowners, mini ranchers, and I just, it's a common theme. And it seems like the blame's always, oh, go talk to the health department, go talk to the Department of Ecology. Well, you guys are part of the process. You guys are accepting, you guys are approving these parcelizations that are coming through weekly, monthly. Well, we, like I just mentioned, I'm a concerned citizen in the county. And it just seems like the problem's just gonna get worse. And you guys don't have a solution, apparently. I mean, you guys are just blaming everybody else. And, it's just gonna get worse. That's all I gotta say in regards to the water. And, there's so much water issues. And I like to also talk once again about all these little recreational ponds that everybody's putting in. We have wells that are limited to 5,000 gallons, what is it, per day? Well, yeah, everyone's punching in, building these little ponds. I see them all over. There's no ordinances on that. And that water is evaporating. It's a waste of water. And people are doing it everywhere. And it's allowed, you guys are, letting it go. Well, Eastern Klickitat County, we don't have them, unlimited source of water. Like you said in the previous meeting, the western side, white salmon area, there's a lot of water. Well, we're in the eastern side, and there's climate change happening now. It's been happening. And, this is my statement that point fingers at Department of Health and Ecology is not going to help the situation. You guys are the leaders of the county. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. And yes, I will respond at 1:25. Is there anybody else who would like to provide public comment? *6 to unmute yourself. Raise your hand, turn your video on. I'm not seeing anyone. Quiet day. Whoa. Okay, we are still in public comment. If somebody would like to provide public comment to the Board of County Commissioners, uh, turn your mic on, get our attention, wave your hands.
I'll give you questions you were asking for earlier.
Wow, that's pretty good. And minutes. Huh. Is this a? Okay, we will go with last chance for public comment. If you would like to provide public comment to the Board of County Commissioners, unmute yourself, raise your hand, *6 if you're on a phone, get our attention. 7211.
Greg Wagner with Cease. Last week, myself and several other citizens received a free education from Commissioner Christopher. His educational email was to prove that his statement, the county assessor is told by Department of Revenue that they must use only the cost-based method of appraisal when appraising renewable properties. He supplied RCW 84.40.420 as proof. The key points in this RCW are: Department of Revenue must publish guidance to advise county assessors when appraising renewable energy facilities. It's advised. It doesn't say must follow. The guidance must include cost-based appraisal method. Must include, but does not state must follow. The county assessor must refer to this guidance, but may also consider one or more appraisal methods. Again, it says must refer, but not must follow. The earliest effective date of this RCW is January 1, 2023. So currently, it does not apply. Nowhere in this RCW does it state that a county assessor must use only the cost-based method of appraisal, as Commissioner Christopher has stated. This RCW effective date, again, is not until January 1, 2023. The RCW provided in Christopher's free education supplies the evidence which proves him wrong. I contacted Department of Revenue and spoke with Lisa Brewer, valuation specialist. She confirmed the above key points and stated that Department of Revenue does not require or mandate a county assessor to use only the cost-based method. Her email will be supplied to you. It is the commissioner's duty and responsibility to oversee the county officials and employees to ensure they are doing their job properly. When those jobs are not being done properly, the commissioner should take the necessary appropriate action to correct them. As Mr. Souter stated, as the legal body, ultimately, we make the final decision. So why not correct this assessing problem now? Additional information is, prior to 2013, the wind facilities were assessed using the income method. In 2013, County Assessor Darlene Johnson changed it to the cost method. I did this on her own. On May 20th, 2020 workshop, Krista Schroeder told the commissioners, I can change the method, but I don't know how. Neither assessor ever stated that they were required or mandated by the Department of Revenue to use only the cost-based method. The county assessor has the authority to select which method or methods are to be used. The cost method is not the best for our county as it allows an annual 8.5% depreciation on personal property. And when the assessed value decreases, the tax collected decreases, and that is a tax break. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Okay, this is, again, last chance for public comment. Sherry.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'd like to follow up on applying the best and highest use for our taxes for county income. We've been talking about this for a very long time. We have been sent ordinances that have actually proved that the county does have the capability to apply whatever method they feel is best for our county. And as Greg just stated, when you give them the cost method, they depreciate, and that depreciates how much tax you can take, and that is a tax break to the people or to the corporations. And if you're going to be filling this county with your renewable energies, and yes, I say you because you are allowing them to happen. When people come to our county and they go to that county planner, that is when the decision is made of these projects and developments coming in, because at that moment, it's a pre-submission hearing. Our county could say, no, it doesn't fit. You can't evacuate. You can't get the water. And when our county doesn't say no up front, that is irresponsible planning. And so I would like the commissioners to apologize for spreading misinformation to the people of the county when you say you have to, per RCWs, which are not even in effect yet, that you have to apply the method of taxing to these renewable energy companies that you are applying at this time. That is misinformation. And when you spread misinformation to the people, we lose trust. And when you hide projects behind closed doors, such as Carriager Solar, which you absolutely know about, you refuse to talk about. When you do these things in secret, we lose trust in you. And again, I am asking for your public apology to the public for accusing us of spreading misinformation, when in fact it was the commissioners, proven through RCWs, through communications, through records that have been requested and received, that you can tax at different methods for these renewable energies. And with planning and the wells, again, this comes back to responsible planning. And when things are done in secret, And when projects are pushed through like under canvas that is restricted to 5,000 gallons a day, that's irresponsible planning. So I'm asking the commissioners to start being more responsible with planning upfront when these people come to our county. Don't write resolutions to give them a magic cup. That's a slap in our face, that resolution, because according to the EOZ, you could have used a cup anyway. You didn't need to give the corporations, the billion-dollar foreign entities that you know have corruption behind them already and lawsuits behind them already. You've been provided that information and a wink and a nod with you're gonna give them the magic cup. That's irresponsible planning. And again, you deserve the apology. We deserve an apology for your misinformation, for your secret plannings. And it's time to start stepping forward, putting these things out in the open and really letting the citizens weigh in on it. You knew we were fighting back on under canvas, and all you've done is taken taxpayers' money and fought the citizens on something that is a death trap and doesn't belong here. The county has done that. You're wasting taxpayer money by fighting your own citizens. So please apologize for the misinformation to the public about the tax method on renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bosque. Is there anybody else who would like to provide public comment? This is your final chance. I'm not seeing anyone. Commissioner Christopher, would you like to respond?
I would, as long as the board is not going to give them time to respond to my response.
Correct. Public comment is closed from the public.
Okay.
So I will go. To Elaine Harvey, I would say that your issue about the parcels of land, I believe is valid, but that would take a need to update our zoning, which is, and hopefully will be done with citizen input when we update the comprehensive plan. But valid point. To Mr. Wagner, when he says that the Board of Commissioner oversees county officials, I would love to see where he can show me an RCW that says I have any power over any elected official other than myself. It does not exist. I have no power over any other elected official. So it would be nice if you maybe stop spreading that inappropriate rumor. To Greg and Sherry about the email that I sent, I will read the email for the general public as it was sent to them, and it says, feel free to share with the world. It says, proof that county commissioners cannot regulate and cannot change how property is assessed or taxed. I am sending this in hopes that maybe CEAS will stop spreading the factually incorrect propaganda that the Board of Commissioners has anything to do with how property is assessed or taxed. And then it just gives the RCW, which Greg Wagner read pieces of for the general public, but nowhere in there does it say the commissioners have any power of anything. But it does say the county assessor must refer to this guidance. It is up to the county assessor on how things are taxed, sir, not the county commissioners. And that is my point. You keep saying it's the county commissioner's responsibility on how these projects are taxed. And I beg to differ with you, sir. RCW says it's the county assessor. And you keep saying that the county commissioners can tell the county assessor what to do. And that is absolutely untrue, sir. That's all I have to say.
I thought I saw Assessor Schroeder online. Krista, are you there? She may be away from her computer. But I would entertain a response from her if she comes back to her computer. I will respond to Ms. Harvey. Ms. Harvey, We are aware of the wells that are being drilled in the county. Klickitat County has been a front runner when it comes to assessing our water tables. We have the longest running program in Washington State that I know of that we first used ecology grant dollars to set up a well monitoring program so that we could find if and where there are any issues where declining aquifers are occurring. Wells go dry, individual wells can go dry for a multitude of reasons. Cave-ins, it could be a change in the fissures and fractures in the ground. What we care about is what is happening on a larger scale. And we look every year, twice a year. We since do no longer get those grants from ecology, but the Board of County Commissioners for the last few years has continued to fund this program through our Natural Resources Department because it matters. And what we have found is that there is only one known spot that there is an actual aquifer that is declining in the central part of the county, which you're speaking of. And the commissioners at the time, based on recommendation from staff, created an area around that spot so that no more wells could be drilled into that aquifer. So we do respond, Ms. Harvey, when there are issues. I will say that I agree that more wells equal more water coming out. There are limits, and that 5,000 gallons per day is a maximum. Most houses use far less than that. And most of that water that you use inside your house goes right back into that aquifer, into that shallow aquifer where you may have been pulling that water from a deeper aquifer. The real part where you start using a lot of water is when you have a green lawn around your house. You can look towards the central part of the county, and I think our communities do a great job of limiting water use during the dry summer months, especially around the areas of high prairie and these other very fractured grounds that don't have enough water. You know, their catchment area for their aquifer is very small. So I think the community works very well on the most part. Of limiting water use. I think there are some people out there who probably are watering more than their quarter acre of lawn. But again, those are few and far in between, I would believe. To Mr. Wagner, I would agree with Commissioner Christopher that it is very clear, and we have been told very clearly by our representative attorney that we have no control over the other elected officials in this county. The only thing that we have control over is the budget. And we would never use the budget to try to browbeat somebody into compliance with what we want. We try to respect our other elected officials. So while I appreciate and I agree wholeheartedly, and I've said many times, that I believe that the income-based method is the appropriate method for these renewable projects. And I have said that that has always been the case. For years, I have agreed with you. I disagreed when 2013, when Darlene changed it to the cost-based method. There's records that go way back then about why she did so. You also have to think that changing someone from one method to another and then changing it back, there's a potential legal liability there, which is something that, you know, the prosecuting attorney would need to be involved in. But again, this is not something that the commissioners have control and decision-making authority on. Let's see if there's anything with Ms. Bosque. Ms. Bosque, when you say it is a tax break to the corporations, I understand how you can see it that way. In reality, any business that has anything that they have that's considered personal property gets depreciated. That is how it works, and as all business owners know, we have to pay the county for that personal income, and you get to depreciate that off every year. It's not a tax break to the corporations. It's what the law says you have to do. and it's very clear. So if we said, oh, the corporations, they need to pay 100% all the time, well, then we're giving a tax break to every other business out there. Everybody plays by the same rules. In terms of when you said we hide behind closed doors and we refuse to talk about it, I have only ever had one meeting with Carringer Solar. I have admitted to it freely. It was requested by them to have a meeting to talk about their potential project. We've been talking about this since Commissioner Christopher and I were elected. There is still no application for this project that has been submitted, and it has been 1 year and 8 months later. That same day that I had this meeting with the proposed potential project, I guess it's not a real project until they finally submit it. They also had a public hearing that evening, or a public listening session that I believe you were there for. So it is not like it's some secret. It's been out in the open, it's been discussed. And saying that what I did when I proposed that every project that would hook up to the Knight Road substation is a magic cup, a CUP, conditional use permit, with a wink and a nod. That is absolutely false, ma'am. The reason that I proposed that, so that it would have to go through the conditional use permit process, was to ensure that there would be the most amount of public participation possible with comment periods, so that everyone would have their say in what they believe should or should not happen. I have also always said publicly that I firmly believe that any of these projects need to go through a full EIS, which is an environmental impact statement that includes scoping, which gives people the ability to determine what needs to be analyzed and thought about so that the best potential projects can come forward. Saying anything else is an absolute falsehood, ma'am. And it is now 1:30, so I'm going to close public comment. Thank you all for your public comments. We do listen, we do care, and we do respond. Next up, we have a public hearing, actually a public meeting to consider the approval of a simultaneous boundary line adjustment, BLA 2021-19, and short plat, SPL 2021-33.
Hi. Okay, as you said, the BLA and short plat is done simultaneously. First, the BLA is recorded and then the short plat. This is BLA 2021-19, which is a proposal to adjust a boundary between parcels 04160950, 0000100, and 04160900, 001200. Also, short plat SPL 2021-33 is a proposal to create 4 lots from one of those boundary line adjustment lots, parcel 04160900001200. It's located off of Pipeline Road, north of Goldendale. The new lots will be utilizing private septic and public City of Goldendale water. The administrative review of the boundary line adjustment and short plat has been completed. Signatures have been obtained from the Road Health Treasurer's offices and Planning Department. All conditions attached to preliminary approval have been met. If the board finds that it's in the public's interest to approve the boundary line adjustment and short plat, a motion needs to be made granting final approval of BLA 2021-19 and SPL 2021-33 applicants Ty and Barbara Ross and Tony and Paula Riley.
Is there any questions? No. I didn't find anything. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, no, not on this one.
I would entertain a motion, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve boundary line adjustment BLA 2021-19 and short plat SPL 2021-33 for Ty and Barbara Ross and Tony and Paula Riley.
I will step down and second the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Well, look, I have 2 pens. You have one.
Mr. King, if you'd like to come forward, we can sign this.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Gotta be green. There, that better?
Green works better.
Yes. I'm here today to ask verbal authorization to hire to replace my administrative assistant's position. And furthermore, to ask that I can hire that person as soon as possible to allow for some overlap for training.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And from our discussion yesterday, I'll let Commissioner Christopher in as well, and that is that, we know how hard it is to hire, and we know how important it is to that cross-training occurs. And so if we can't get somebody on board until the current person is gone, I'm always in favor of being able to call them back on a casual position to help training if need be.
Thank you. You agree?
All right.
Thank you very much. One further question I have about this, you're off that. You're good.
Here it comes.
Do you gentlemen, no. Do you have any information, or who would be the person, because we haven't had a meeting yet as an entire group, for the mental health responders, the DCRs? My communications officer, have we signed that agreement? Are we gonna have somebody else to call starting Saturday?
We are signing the agreement with Skamania County.
Okay.
But we are supposed to find our own employees that will then subcontract with Skamania County to be our DCRs. Director Quinn has put an extreme amount of time into this. The problem is finding the DCRs and people willing to do it.
Right.
And that is where we've got a lot of work to do this week, and that is the first thing on my priority list. I'm actually having a meeting this afternoon with Comprehensive's last DCR to see if there's something we can do. But we are also, it looks like hopefully going to work with Lifeline on the triage, the crisis triage. So that'll be the first person you call. And that'll all be, third, they won't be here in person. It'll be who you talk to, but it'll be somebody you can talk to that can then set up a plan and get people home. It's the actual writing of that very long document with the DCR that we're trying to get in person, but we've got a lot of work to do this week.
Excellent. Can I connect with you later today to
Yes, you may.
figure out?
You can call me anytime, you know that.
Well, after your meetings, I'll give
Yes.
you a shout. We can figure out who
Yeah,
exactly.
call me around 4:30.
Okay, excellent.
And I will piggyback onto that, is when you're having these discussions and having trouble finding the DCRs, what I need to know going forward is what the magic solution is, what the magic number is, what makes people say yes instead of no. So nobody wants the job.
We had a potential pool applicant list, I think, of 5 or 6 people, and so far, it's been across the board, no.
So it's, to me, it's one of those, I understand it's part of the mental health field that they don't want to deal with. Because they're the problem child, the hard to deal with, the stressful, it's much easier just to deal with a regular person that, has a little mental health and you can cash a big check. So I think unfortunately it comes down to, you're gonna have to pay for it. It's just a matter of how much, but I need to know what that number is versus no. Everything's available for a cost. It's just a matter of what's the cost.
It is a difficult service to provide.
I mean, to be honest, I think, I'm just spitballing here, I think it is, on average, we do 4 a month. Actual, DCRs need to show up and you do the full thing, 4 a month. And, comprehensive was supposed to have 7 people full-time to do these 4 a month. So.
It's August 2nd. We have 1 pending right now. I have a request for a DCR and we've called comprehensive and have not got a call back as of the time I left.
How long has that been?
It's probably been an hour now. But, yep.
Their responses is they respond within 15 minutes.
I'm not gonna get into all that, but all I need to do is have something to tell my folks that when an officer on the road requests us to contact someone to get a DCR, who do we contact? And my understanding is that on Saturday, that goes away, that the system we've been using now, so I need to know who to tell them to call.
And is this something that could also just be triaged? Crisis line type of triage versus an actual full-blown ITA?
So our process procedure is if that's appropriate, if we get a call from that person and it's appropriate to forward them or to refer them to one of those services, then we do that.
Okay.
But if an officer's in contact with that person, which if they're calling, we usually, if they're truly in crisis, we dispatch law enforcement and probably EMS. And then the law enforcement officer requests us to get DCR services. So then we have to follow through on that.
Got it. Yeah, we are trying to do everything we can.
I just want to make sure I've got clear direction for my folks to know what to do coming up.
Yep, and you'll have clear direction on Saturday. Okay.
I'm just sticking on the same topic, and you can stay or go. It's up to you, sir. I guess I'm a little more frustrated that the mental health professionals in this county don't seem to be stepping up for this one.
It's short term, 90 days, while we work on longer term. Yeah.
Yeah, I could say way more, but I won't.
Probably a good idea.
I appreciate what they do, but people fall through the cracks. As I said, I think it's one of those, I don't know how much Beacon money is available to pay wages or whatnot, or if county's got to subsidize over and above what Beacon pays or whatever, but it's getting kind of scary at this point.
So have you read the contract with Skamania County? I mean, if push comes to the end of the shoving, we might have to try again to get them to at least cover the county until we can get somebody on. But as I understand it, their DCRs do not want to come up here into Klickitat County and work in Klickitat County.
Again, they would if you paid them $1,000 an hour. So there's always a magic number. And unfortunately, we might, for our little 90-day transition, we might have to have something because something's better than nothing. But
the thing that scares me is that if, we're talking about taking over, more than just DCR services for the long run and, potentially making a full-service suite like Skamania County has. And if we do that, but yet we can't even find people to do the DCR side, what are we gonna do?
Right. Well, to me, the DCR side is the hard side. The DCR side is the side that nobody wants to do.
I don't know. I don't,
Yeah, no, I don't know that I want to be a one-stop shop, but we have to be able to provide the DCR service, which is the main thing that comprehensive was lacking. So, yeah,
Yep.
anyway, no good answers.
I will,
Some things are out of our control.
yep. You can only do what you can do. We're working on it. Okay. Would you like to move on with the consent agenda, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve consent agenda with 11 items.
There is a motion, and I will step down and second that motion to approve the consent agenda with all 11 items. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I would say, bills next. Mr. Chairman, I move that we pay accounts payable warrants in the amount of $251,138.53 and the payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $0 for the date ending August 1st, 2022.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of paying the bills signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right. New business, the resolution in the matter of authorizing the submission of a joint 100 million US DOT Bridge Investment Program grant for the replacement of the Hood River Bridge. This is pretty self-explanatory. We are looking to apply for $100 million through the DOT's Bridge Investment Program. And that is federal DOT dollars to go along with the $195 million grant that has already been applied for. Hoping to get that out the door within the next week, from what I heard from the port. Is there any discussion?
I have no concerns. I would happily sign it.
Okay,
Do you need a motion? Or no.
yes, it's a resolution, yeah.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve and sign the resolution of the matter authorizing a submission of a joint $100 million US DOT Bridge Investment Program grant for the replacement of the Hood River Bridge.
I will step down and second the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay,
Want me to do the next one?
yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we sign the agreement between Klickitat County and Barry Dunn McNeil and Parker LLC, DBA Barry Dunn, for the purpose of providing client project management services to serve as a facilitator to assist the county in preparing an RFP to replace the county current financial management software. Compensation for work provided will be in accordance with the budget estimate for phases 0 through 4, $76,300 plus $4,500 travel expense estimate.
I will second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That is great to finally get that one moving ahead. And I would like to say thank you to Mr. Kelsey for all his work on that project, along with the rest of the finance
Everybody
committee.
on that one.
Okay, board pending. Do you have anything, sir?
Nope.
What did I say we wanted for board pending? Oh, kind of already talked.
So my thinking on that is, just for a quickie, some of these things. Not looking at the right document. Let's see. Just a pile of paperwork. Some of these things I have notes that, based on potential development or development driven or whatever. But I also see needs to be done due to age of, correct equipment. There's some $20,000-$30,000 projects here or there. And I guess I'm saying if Public Works is gonna come to me with a budget ask in the next year to do anything in here, I'd like it asked there first.
Okay.
If this is something that can be held off for 2 years, then don't ask there, don't ask here either. Until then. I guess since I'm not gonna be here next week. that's kind of where I was going on that one.
There's a, well, did you look at all the applications and have any ideas on those? Do you think they all have merit and validity from, the applications?
Yes. I guess I'd say based on my ledger of the last 14 years worth of projects, it is very unusual to see so many all at one time. I guess part of me feels that maybe if they get them all approved this year, then there'll be nothing that they need to ask for next year, which might make it easier for them in a way. But I'm also of the opinion that when this landfill gas was set up, that it was a partnership between the county and the PUD, and looking over the last, 13 years, it's mainly PUD minus the airport project, which that money went to the PUD. That I think the county was fine in doing what it did and was always giving those monies to the PUD when it was in the place where it had excess funds to do its own projects, but now we don't. And if we don't, say, get a Dallasport wastewater project through this, we're gonna have to pay for it out of our own budget. Our budget is not what it used to be, so it's time to share the value of these projects. I don't have a problem with any of their projects. I am curious why when they tend to do one here or there and some years none, how did 4 pop up or 5 pop up all at 1 year? Do they all really need to be done this year? Or can, 1 or 2 be done this year and 1 or 2 be done next year? And but as far as picking winners and choosers out of their 4, I'll leave that to them.
Okay.
It would have been nice to see them ranked.
Do you feel confident or comfortable with depleting the entire fund?
For the most part, yeah, because you're gonna get new fund balance every year. And either depleting the entire fund, if you wanna leave a little bit of emergency in there, I'm fine with that too, knowing there's gonna be another 250,000 going in it next year. So I would imagine if you approve them, I don't know that all of these are gonna get done this year. And not, well, we're gonna schedule that for 2023. We just don't wanna have to go back and have to ask in 2023. So it's an approved project that they can just do with the money out of next year. I would also say that since, again, I would like to see our share of the bottom line or the balance. But if we can, I guess I'd say the Goldendale project's already funded. I just think it'd be better here than we can use the O9 dollars for brick and mortar type economic development. So that's why I put it on here. But I guess I would say even if we have to trade some Dallasport wastewater on here, leave Goldendale 0.09, I'm kind of fine with that too, because again, it won't hit my budget. If I gotta fund Dallasport wastewater, it's gonna hit my budget.
Okay. Sounds like some horse trading.
To some degree.
All right. I hear what you're saying. You don't want projects to hit our budget.
Ideally.
But there is a healthy balance in the Dallasport wastewaters as well. So there's a lot of these projects could be done with the money that's currently available in that fund. Correct?
Potentially, but there's also some big projects that are supposed to be coming
Well,
in a year or two, which are gonna affect how much we have to pay either on those or what if we go to sell the project or sell the trade, giveaway, whatever. People are gonna come back asking for money if we spend down that fund balance too, so.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, no, I think horse trading is in order, and looking at the history, the county doesn't make many asks on this fund. And yeah, no, I'll be happy to sit in and do that meeting for you if you want me to, but Pretty sure that's the reason why there's so many things on there, so there doesn't have to be one next year.
Well, it takes a while to rebuild that fund, that's for sure. And, COVID slowed everything down, so that's probably why that fund is up
See,
there
my
where it's at.
questions on their stuff are questions I didn't have. So things like when they're talking about the Rimrock water system, and I'm reading through it, and it's, it's telling me costs and everything else, but it's not telling me how many service connections there is. What's the cost per resident?
Right.
What are they charging in water rates for that residence to, I guess I'd say, are they charging the residents what they need to charge them and then need a little bit more funding, or should they be raising their rates first? And then, but all that information is not in the packet, so.
Right.
I don't get to see it.
Right. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Not really.
All right. I would entertain a motion. Oh, yes. Oh, he is. Prosecutor Cannell, do you have an update?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you, Prosecutor Cannell.
Mr. Cornell, I will not be here next week, but if you need to reach out to me, I believe you can. I haven't decided whether I'm taking my phone with me, but I think I will, just in case you need me for something.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good vacation.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have, sir. You want a motion?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn the regular meeting, no workshop scheduled.
There's been a motion, and I will step down and second the motion to adjourn, noting that there is no workshop for August 4th. We will see everyone next Tuesday. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all for signing on and being a part of local government. Have a great day.